I'd like to call on stage now Sam Glassenberg, who is the CEO of Fantactics. Yes. Give a warm applause to Sam, and he's what you hear now is really very impressive and really at the edge, and it couldn't be more than that. We're really looking forward to your demo. Fantastic.
Thank you, thank you. I'm Sam Glassenberg, and I was asked to speak about the convergence of two topics that are very dear to my heart: movies and video games. Can we get the presentation up? Anyway, there we go, movies and video games. So I'm a lucky guy who's spent his career at the intersection of these two, but never so much as right now at Fantactics, a company that was started in Israel, and our business is releasing social games around major Hollywood films, like Mission Impossible and The Hunger Games. Now, movies and video games are two different windows into the same fictional universe. Now, that universe can be a galaxy far, far away, or a post-apocalyptic North America. That universe truly only exists in the mind of its creator. And movies are a window into this universe. A huge budget poured into 90 minutes of tightly controlled presentation. Now, a movie feels real. A movie feels authentic. And as one of millions of fans, it makes me not only want to enter that universe, but truly become a part of it. And this is what we call the fan fantasy. For example, Mission Impossible. I want to be my own secret agent, living a life of intrigue and adventure. Cutting-edge gadgets, fancy cars, assembling a team of my best friends to go on dangerous missions around the world. And at Fantactics, we fulfill the fan fantasy. We let fans enter the universe of the film on Facebook. And not in some sort of cheesy virtual tour sort of way. We let you be your own secret agent with the gadgets and the cars and commanding your friends on top secret missions. This is the fan fantasy realized. And this is also the power of interactive media. This is why video games in general are so engaging. Users can play games for hours, days, weeks, months, way more than a movie. And what games have lacked in the past is authenticity. Movies always felt like the real thing. Games felt fake, like a compromise. Authenticity. Authenticity is elusive, but if you can somehow achieve authenticity in a video game, that's when the real success happens. And I saw this for the first time about a decade ago. I was working for Lucasfilm, and this is when the new Star Wars movies were coming out. My team was building the video games. And for the first time ever, we actually took assets from a movie in production. We simplified them, and we put them into a video game. And this brought a new level of authenticity to video games. You were actually flying the same Jedi starfighter that you saw in the movie. And I believe this was LucasArts' most successful title that year. But keep in mind, the graphics available at the time were pretty terrible. They couldn't compare, they weren't even close to a movie. And it took a very hardcore gamer with a very active imagination to see something like that as authentic. So I looked at this and I said, wow, if we could improve the capabilities of the system and we could make the graphics look as good as the movie, well, then it would be authentic to everyone. It's the graphics quality that's holding the market back. And so that's what I thought, but as it turned out, I was completely wrong. I left LucasArts and I joined the leading graphics group on the planet, Microsoft DirectX. Every game and every graphics chip and every device in the world, from the Xbox to your iPhone, uses technology that's pioneered by DirectX. And what we were trying to do was to recreate film quality in interactive games, in games that you could interact with in an engaging way. Now, with Moore's law, compute power doubles every year. So in 2001, it would take 30 minutes to render one movie frame. But by 2006, with the right tools and chips and software and algorithms, well, we'll be able to do that in an interactive game at 30 frames per second. And around 2007, we actually got there. Cinema quality in interactive games. And what happened? The movie-based market completely collapsed. And the market for hardcore games stopped growing. Better graphics didn't deliver authenticity. It just made it more expensive to make a good game. It didn't actually expand the market at all. In the meantime, social and mobile games with relatively simple graphics created a new audience of 500 million gamers that had never played games before. And this is where the growth is in the games business these days on platforms like iPhone and Facebook. And this is why I left Microsoft to join Funtactics, because while social was disrupting the video games industry, it's turning the movie industry completely on its head. Social completely changes the way that movies engage fans. Two contrasting examples just from earlier this year. Disney, major motion picture studio, spent hundreds of millions of dollars to market a blockbuster film the old way. TV ads, and it didn't take. Couldn't engage the audience. And then 2 weeks later, The Hunger Games. Lionsgate, a smaller studio, riding one of the most innovative social marketing campaigns in history, created the biggest opening weekend ever for a new film. Hardly any investment in TV ads. And so when they see this, the knee-jerk reaction of many Hollywood studios is to start shifting their budget from television to social. So I'll take my trailer, and instead of spending my money on television spots, I'll spend it on Facebook ads for the trailer. But this doesn't work either. If you're lucky, a trailer will engage a user for 30 seconds or so. Our Hollywood partners take those clicks and they send them to a Funtactics game instead. The game is free to play on Facebook and available to hundreds of millions of users. And within 3 days of signing up, our users have spent more time playing the Hunger Games adventures than they spent in the theater watching the movie. This is millions of users. And they continue playing for months. And they invite their friends. And what you create is a passionate, excited fan base. A player who spends money through microtransactions to get ahead in the game and to show off to their friends how much of a passionate fan they are of the franchise, often spending more than they would on a traditional console game. And at Funtactics, we continue to replicate this success on top Hollywood films. We created this business of movie-based social games, and we remain the only studio with a track record in the space. And for Funtactics, the key to this success is authenticity. This is how you fulfill the fan's fantasy. Now, how do we do that? Yes, we do use film assets to make our games more authentic. We're the only ones who've done this in social games, and we do spend a lot of time on perfecting the art style, but this is just the beginning. The most important thing, well, the more important thing is close collaboration with the creators of the property, the geniuses behind the universe. If the game's story, if the dialogue, if it's an afterthought, if it doesn't come from the same source as the movie, the fans detect it in a second and they'll click away. And this is why we always work closely with the creators of the property itself. Because for them, this is the best opportunity to explore characters, stories, places that couldn't fit into the movie or into the pages of the book. And this is their opportunity to literally use Facebook as a storytelling tool, to experiment. This is their direct channel to the fans themselves. And this is the most important factor in the success of a movie-based game. Ongoing, meaningful dialogue with the fans. Now, when we launch a game, we launch with a tiny fraction of the content that we expect to have a year later. And as an online game, we can track every step of the user's experience. We can see what they like and what they don't like, what characters, what story elements, what locations. And if the answer isn't clear from the numbers that we measure, we can just ask them directly. And this is what drives what we build next. What features, what characters, what locations are going to show up in the game next week. It's kind of like having a TV show where you can ask the audience what they liked and what they didn't, and you let that decide the direction of the next episode. And when the audience feels this power, when they feel the impact that they're having, you can create the most passionate fan base that you've ever seen, in the millions. But not only do we take this data and feed it back into the game, we're starting to feed this information back to the filmmakers themselves, to the creators, to actually impact the direction of future movies. So at the beginning of this talk, I said that the universe, these universes upon which movies and video games are based, exist only in the mind of its creator. And that's actually only half true. It also exists in the minds of the fans as well. And enabling the fans to contribute in a meaningful and constructive way to the universe of a film, I believe that that's the future of film-game convergence and the future of entertainment as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's impressive, isn't it? Yes, really. So we're looking forward, I think, maybe to see in the next 2 years what will be then reality, what you do. And I know you're at the cutting edge. You should stand up yourself also. You're the founder and the CEO of Fantastic. What's going on? Because you said you're onto a few new projects. You can't talk about the newest movies, so we're really looking forward to it. Thank you for being here today, this morning. Okay. Now we have the next demo, and I think Shahar Waiser is. Who used Get Taxi? We all love it? We tried. Yes. Oh, we tried. Okay, so now you have. You can explain Get Taxi. Do you need my mic? Yeah. Oh, okay. Good.
It's worked, right? Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shahar Waiser, and I'm founder and co-CEO of Get Taxi. Before we start, I actually love to ask the same question, and I need your help and attention. So please, all of you, raise the hands who took a cab, took a taxi, at least once within the last month. Just any cab. You took a taxi, you know, you had a drink after hours, airport, and what I usually see is 100% of people took a cab at least once within the last months. And it's not surprising because the data shows, and it's really surprising, at least for me, that about 50%, half of every adult resident in any city in the world, taking taxi at least once every month. So it's an interesting industry, it's huge. We talk about 30 billion, and we talk just about Europe and USA, we not count South Africa or Asia. It's a huge market, and we wanted to make it different. We wanted to make remarkable service, and I want to show you a short movie that actually shows where we go and how it works.
Getting a taxi is a concept as old as time. Even before the invention of the wheel, people have been getting taxis to take them where they want to go. With the evolution of technology throughout the ages, taxis have evolved as well. But the concept of how you order a taxi, strangely, has not. You could either try to hail one with your hand, or pick up the phone and stay on hold forever. Well, not anymore. Introducing Get Taxi, the service that allows you to instantly order a taxi right from your mobile in a simple click. See your taxi on the map as it travels to you in real time, as well as let you know the driver and ride information, such as name and phone number, car type, license number and color. No more phone calls, no more waiting in line. Just click the Get Taxi button and the taxi is as good as there. You can rate the driver, share with your friends, and earn miles just as you do with the airlines. So get smart, Get Taxi.
So this is the movie just to show the experience we are trying to achieve. We want to make the frustrating and boring experience of ordering a taxi completely different. We want you to make an order instantly, being confident, being in control, where's your taxi, pay instantly, basically making it fun, reliable, and affordable experience. But this is where we started. We said, okay, let's make that experience a commodity. Why not? I mean, once you start to use Get Taxi, you basically get very, you start to believe it should working like this every time. So this is the commodity already. But what we really aiming to, and what is our vision to where Get Taxi could be, is actually change the industry so much fundamentally that you will prefer the taxi over your private transportation. And that's big. Let me explain this. I mean, today you use taxi in certain occasions. Your private car is still better choice, right? You have a freedom, it's reliable, it's downstairs, I can go everywhere. But if what if we can make a taxi available to you within 3 minutes? You click a button, 3 minutes, it's there. It's reliable, it's all this there. What if I have a cashless experience? I get in a taxi and I get out of taxi without paying because I have it automatically either on my card or my business account. What if we can achieve that? Then you start to use taxi actually better than your car. Private car, especially if you're in a city, you don't want to deal with the parking and garage and other stuff. So this is where what we want to create. And it's a difficult task because, give us a credit, building the infrastructure is not an easy task. There are lots of work have to be done in order to achieve that, but let's see what we already done. We launched initially in Israel. It was a year ago, and we're going to celebrate this in the close months. We're already doing 3 minutes arrival time. And this is not just small Tel Aviv that we all know. It's entire central Israel, about 15 cities. In any place in central Israel, which is in the size of London or Moscow, you can click a taxi and get it within 3 minutes. It's less than, you know, yeah, I'm using a taxi all the time in Israel. I click the button. Before I get downstairs, I already have my car available. And I can go 500 meters to my meeting, drop the car, have my meeting, order another one, and go to another place. London, we launched last summer. We're already 5 minutes. London is a similar size of city like Moscow. 5 minutes, that's what you have. Moscow, we just launched 2 months ago. It's a difficult task. I mean, we'll talk about Moscow specifically where we start, but we like to see that we're already doing 12 minutes arrival time. And for those who come from abroad, you might think that 12 minutes, it's actually, come on, who needs 12 minutes, right? In any other country, you order a taxi, it's usually 5, 7, 10 minutes. But in Moscow, we'll talk about it, it usually takes 45 minutes if you call ordering a taxi because they have small fleets. In the city is big, that's why it takes so much time. So starting and having 12 minutes, it's a difficult task. We have lots of challenges here. We just started 2 months ago, but this is what we had. And experience shows that when we have a year to operate, we can take it down to 3 minutes, and it's big. We believe that you want to have, and we want you to work in the taxi. We want you to have a freedom, basically, to getting around in a city, very easy way. So yes, you have a car downstairs, yes, it's available every time, and you have a free Wi-Fi. We're already experimenting with it in Moscow, and almost every car we have here has a free Wi-Fi, so it's convenient to work while you going. This is important. We call it cashless experience. Once you try it, you can use taxi another way. By other words, we launch credit cards that you can put on file, and then you leave a car, you charge, you get a receipt, and you're done. Or if your business, small business or big, we work with many companies, including Disney, Google, ICQ, Warner Music, Pricewaterhouse, many companies. All the employees who use Get Taxi, they just have this cashless experience. You get in the car, you get out, it's all done. By the end of the month, you get an invoice to the corporate. This cashless experience is critical to our vision where you can use a taxi better than your car. It's just that convenient. Now let's touch Moscow. It's very interesting new city we launch, and we want to see as a business case what we can do within 6 months and how we can change the experience in that big but complicated city. So as I mentioned today, Moscow is different from other cities, and you have very little amount of cars that you can order, and the fleets are small, so that's why on average it takes 45 minutes if you order a regular cab. Those of you who've been here and maybe click Get Taxi and it shows 20 minutes, they say, oh, 20 minutes, what? Why would use the Get Taxi? They call the taxi companies. I heard many stories like this today. And they say, okay, we'll be in 1 hour. Is it okay? So this is where we live now. And we want to bring it down to 5 minutes. 5 minutes in a city where people used to get 45 minutes, it's a big change because it's not just being #1 in that market. It means to change the market, how people use taxi. Because if it's 45 minutes, I prefer to use my car, nothing else. 45 minutes, it's not usable. Another thing, I mean, because the fleets are small and it takes them tons of time to get to you, they charge you minimal charge. as less as you can get is $10 minimal charge just to get a car because they drive from far away. We want to bring this minimum to 0, 25 rubles, and if you do that, once again, you have a bigger challenge because people start to use taxi as an alternative to their car. Come on, if I have it 2 minutes down, I'm paying 0, I drive 500 meters, I leave, that's a different story. It's not just that I go to airport or I'm drunk. So this thing is important. I mean, for the first time, whoever used Get Taxi, and we really fanatic about it. We created infrastructure where people rate their drivers. And this is crucial because eventually, if you motivate people, if you motivate those drivers who are service-oriented, who are good to their customers, you create a different user base. And in Israel, we see it. After 6 months, we have different drivers who care about service. It's secure, it's nice, it's different. And that's what people love. We're trying to create remarkable service in every touch we have with the user, either when you order, or taxi, or driver, or car. Once again, altogether, if we succeed in creating all this infrastructure and making it available, we will change, not just to become a biggest in this huge industry of $30 billion, we want this industry to be bigger. We want you to leave your car and move around the city with Get Taxi. Short intro about how it looks like. Today we're already in London and Moscow and other cities in Israel, as I mentioned, 13 cities of central Israel. And the idea behind it is that not only it's convenient for you in the same city, you can use the same app when you travel. We wanted to go to London this summer, to Olympic Games, and use the same Get Taxi app you use in Russia in Russian, and you might still use it in London in Russian, while the drivers will get it in English. So it's disconnected. If you travel from Israel, you can do the same. You change the country, and you use the same app all around. So that's why it's also important. This is how it looks in London. In London, you can brand the cars. It looks pretty interesting. This is Israel. And in Russia, we like to wow our customers, and we're all constantly trying to wow them. So one of the things we're experimenting here is free Wi-Fi we mentioned before. Also, we have a fleet of Mercedes S Long. And our loyal users who use us a lot, sometimes as a surprise, can get an upgrade for the first class. They get the Mercedes S-Class Long, not always, but if you're loyal and patient enough, you get it. And you pay the same minimal charges we charge on our regular fleet. So we love this. New York is next, and this is what we're working right now. It's challenging, not less than Moscow, and we hope we succeed there as well. And wish us good luck, and I hope we will make it in Moscow eventually, and it will be helpful to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Shahar, we wish you good luck.
Thank you.
It's wonderful. Especially, I think the translation is incredible. So you keep the taxi with you, you know the experience, but you're global. It's really looking forward and hope to get an upgrade sometimes. The last demo now, and you saw it already maybe earlier. I'd like to call on stage Andy Melnikov. Who is Andy? Where is Andy? Here. Okay. Yeah.
There's a little mistake. Adrien Henni couldn't come today, but I would like to invite our advisor and chief editor of East West Digital News, Adrien Henni.
Okay, so but Adrien will present that? Yes. Okay, so Adrien.
Hello to all. Здравствуйте. Bonjour. Well, I would like to compare the popularity of taxis and the popularity of Tom Cruise movies. May I ask you to raise your hands, all those who saw Minority Report with Tom Cruise? Well, there are almost as many as taxis. Incredible. Well, those who didn't, you will have today the opportunity not only of seeing a fantastic picture of this film with Tom Cruise manipulating images in the air and this futuristic police investigation. You will not only be able to see it, but you will be able to be Tom Cruise today. So I would like to present to you the next-gen Tom Cruise, Roman Doronin of the Displayer team. Displayer is a startup from Astrakhan in Russia, and they have just invented this air screen display, fully interactive, and Roman is going to show you a few features of this of this device. Не говори, показывай. So we're going to show you a few pictures and films. It can show any multimedia content. This is a prototype. So the screen, the air screen, is made of micro vapor particles. Anyone can play with it, even children. This device is shown at many events, and it's well, those who are on this side or on that side may come more in the middle to see better, because it's a question of angle too. It's just if you look at your television very far away, you won't see a lot of high-definition picture. So, did you hear of the city of Astrakhan? It's a city in the south of Russia. Until now, it was absent from the Russian innovation map, and now it isn't absent, thanks to this player. We're going to show you where Astrakhan is.
It's over there. Она не отображает.
On the Caspian Sea. Покажи поближе теперь. Максимально. Окей. И отступи, чтобы люди могли смотреть. Не лучше смотреть? Okay, so let us show you a game, Angry Birds. Did you hear about it? Would someone like to come here and play with Angry Birds? Come on. Come on. Who would like to play Angry Birds? Thank you. Face.
Okay, and what angle? This one?
Well, just come to the screen and play. Play with it.
Oh, okay. It works. Yeah. I don't know if you see it, but it works. Experience is quite strange, and you can understand it's a prototype. But it's a cool one. I like it. How much is it? Okay. And then?
Thank you very much, Inga. How much is it? Now it's a prototype. The most recent version of the prototype that I saw 2 weeks ago allows you to capture a picture that is shown here. Imagine you have anything you want for advertising, to show for advertising, and then you can capture the picture within your iPhone. This is the new version of the prototype that isn't there. And later this year, in fall, you will have the first commercial devices that will be sold for this very basic version from 5 to 10,000 euros. This is when the production will be at industrial stages, it will go down, down, down. And I would like to show you now the last thing. Have you got the perfume?
Huh? Perfume?
The perfume. We met a leading France-based world cosmetics leader last month, and we're completely in love with that. They want to put that in storefronts. They want to build virtual walls within their commercial areas to have several zones, several areas, one for shampoos, the other one for perfumes, etc., etc. Each area being defined with a special visual experience and also a special olfactive experience, because you can smell it, you can see it, you can hear the content. In this prototype you have some noise, but the next one there will be no noise, and you will be able to hear everything as you can see a film with sound, and you can also smell it. So you will soon, at least the first ones here will soon feel it. Okay. It's very easy, you know, just put some perfume in it and it's immediate. The effect was very quick. So, just one more minute. The analogy with Tom Cruise is not ours, it was by Mashable. The international press spoke about it with enthusiasm a few months ago when it went out. You have a very wide range of potential applications, from advertising to events, to games, to medicine with relaxation and rehabilitation of your movements. Regarding events, you will see it next year in Kazan. There's a huge international youth event, and Megaphone, the Russian mobile operator, is placing these things there with virtual screens that will allow you to allow user to have with a special menu to discover the event virtually, the sponsors, the map of the event, the program, etc., etc. So we'll come to these new kinds of screens to discover all that. And there is also in the R&D program, there are different sizes of the product, from the little size that you can see here with a vapor screen coming out of your iPad or iPhone, to the biggest ones for urban design, for instance. Just in one word, one last word, the innovation is here to combine two things. The first thing is this micro vapor particle display. There are competitors doing that, for instance, Fox Screen in Finland or Helio Display in the United States, but they don't have the multi-touch function, and they don't have the smell at all. The other kind of competitor is those who are very good in multi-touch. You have Kinect, and you have most lately Leap. They also have more or less advanced multi-touch technologies. When with your hands you can manipulate images, but it's on a standard screen, it's on a glass screen. So the uniqueness of this display is to combine these two dimensions, the vapor screen and the very advanced multi-touch technology with 1,500 virtual control points on this surface between your hands and the image that you produce. Well, thank you very much for your attention. Displayer has just closed a C-stage round of investment with international and Russian business angels, and including Esther Dyson, and I must say myself. We're still open to cooperation for potential commercial partnership, R&D, as well as smart money investors. And the second round of investment will be at the end of the year. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. So there was a glimpse to the future, and thank you for all of you who presented demos this morning. The startup morning demo call is always early, and thank you for bringing your ideas and your concepts here.